Sahana vavatu, Sahanao bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we acquire the capacity to study and understand the scriptures. May our study be brilliant and may we not cavil at each other. Om, peace, peace, and peace. Dear brothers and sisters, loving Sai Ram to all of you. We welcome everyone to the Sri Sathya Sai Baba Center of Arcadia. And we are continuing our study circle on Gita Vahini. And we are on chapter 14. And you received the study guide material. So that is page 64 on the soft copy version and page 130 on the hard copy, the one I have. And there are many different versions of the hard copy. I can't tell. The one we have is 130. So we'll continue from there. So just for the continuity of thing, please, in spirituality, these are all connected with things you should remember. That is why in Gita, Swami also, Lord Krishna gave that 18 yogas, right? Vishada yoga to moksha sannyasa yoga. Swami can start anywhere. Actually, he is Sai Krishna. Anywhere, 3rd chapter to 10th chapter, 10th to 14, he can jump anyway. But he himself followed the same sequence as Bhagavad Gita, as Lord Krishna said. So we discussed the chapter 7 before, Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Now we started, since the last 2 weeks, Akshara Parabrahma Yoga, which is chapter 8. Why I'm referring is Swami himself continues. Then you refer to the original text or Swami's thing, then we can really understand. Some concepts are very straightforward, easy. Some are a little bit need deep contemplation and thinking. So here, as he said, Lord Krishna said at the end of that chapter 7, that if you want to merge in me, you should know Brahman, you should know Karma, you should do Adhibhautika, you should do Adhidaivika, Adhiyajna, and you Adhyatmika, and then finally know how to leave the body. So he has said, so Arjuna, a good student he was, he asked the questions. So answer me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 questions. He gives 7 answers, good teacher, one by one. So in the summary, he talked Brahman is, that is the eternal principle which never changes, which is the basis of everything. That is beyond name, form, attributes, and the cause and time. So it is beyond time, causation, name, and form and attributes. Then he talks about karma. In the cosmic sense, the Lord is responsible for the whole universe. That is the higher karma. Whereas for us, the reason we are born is because of our karma, whether it is good or bad. Because of that, we are born and pay for that. So good, good, bad, bad. All the life, grief and sorrow, that is, and happiness and pleasure. So in other things, they say God did that. So in Vedanta says, you are responsible. You are responsible for yourself. So don't blame anybody, your parents or your peers or your boss. You decided where you will be born. You decided your parents, and you decided the situation. Because of your karmic balance, God puts you, this is what you deserve, like you get a job. So we decided we are responsible for our own destiny. God is a witness. So that is what that is karma. So you should understand the individual level and the cosmic level. Then he talks about the Adidaivika, that is the whole Hiranyagarbha, that is the cosmic, from whom the whole galaxies came. And I said only 1/4 of that cosmic thing is manifest as the visual universe. 3/4 is unmanifest. And then Adibhautika is what we see, everything, trees, plants, mountains, everything which changes, whereas Brahman doesn't change at all. Whereas this nature, the what you see, changes. That is Adibhautika. And Adhyatmika is the indwelling soul, Jiva. Paramatma is supreme soul and we are the things. So that way he went on. Adi Yajna is the Lord, his Yajna is the God himself is called Yajna. So when he takes part in you as an indwelling principle is called Adi Yajna. Then final thing is how to leave the body. There's a big chapter. So he discusses. So this is a summary of what he said. But Swami, as a good teacher he is, he goes one by one, expands in detail. First he is talking about, last week we started just on Brahman. So he's going to talk a lot on Brahman, so this coming few pages. Then he will talk about karma. Then he will talk about the other aspects of Adhyatmika, Adibhautika. Then he says how to leave the body, how to get ready for our exit from this planet, which we all have to go, be ready for the exit, but how to exit with not crying. That's why most of the people, we are born crying. Right? So when you're born, other pediatricians are there. If they don't cry, they think there's problem. They will slap them so that the breath, otherwise the baby is dead. So you are born crying, but it should end laughing. But you end, but when dying also you cry. That is not the end. Because Swami says when you are born, you are crying, but with the end, you should leave the body with smile on your face or laughter. So that is because when you know, yeah, others should cry because you lead such a good life. Yeah, the others should cry. Good point. So the Kabir Doha, this is a beautiful Kabir Doha. So when you are born, everybody, you are crying, everybody is rejoicing. Right? Everybody, oh, I have a son or a grandson, people are happy, we celebrate. So when you are born crying, people rejoice. But when you die, you are laughing and everybody else cries, oh, what a good person we missed. He led such a noble life. He was so kind, helpful, and holy. That is the way you should lead the life. Another way Swami says, when you are born crying, Koham, who am I, who am I? When you die, you should say, Soham, I am that, I am that, I am the supreme divinity. That is the way. So this is the formulas which are given by Swami and the great saints. So to come back to that, so this Brahman, Swami says the whole universe, whatever we see, there are only 5 things, nothing else. Scientists will say there is sun, moon, galaxies, many universes, this black hole, that. According to Vedanta, which you can prove, there are only 5 things. 3 things is Satchidananda, Asti Bhati Priyam it is called. And the 2 other things is Nama Rupa, form and name. Anything is, you go and say anything should fall in this 5. Asti Bhati Priyam or Satchidananda and Nama Rupa. The interesting thing is, there are 2 of them, they are impermanent, ever changing. Name and form, right? Our form, how you were when you were a child, when you are young and middle age and old, we know how the form, our things change. Name changes from life to life. But the thing that doesn't change is this knowledge, existence, and bliss. That is eternal. So don't focus on things which are changing. That is name and form. Unfortunately, most of our life, if you analyze, we focus on which is changing. That is name and form. But they say try to focus, if you want to have bliss, on the unchanging. That is what Lord Buddha, what was he? He was a great, wonderful prince, handsome man. He had a beautiful wife and a child, royal comforts. But when he saw that 3 sides, that he saw old age, everybody has to go through old age, sickness, and death. These are facts of life. We also see that. But nobody bothers about it. That is my father used to tell me. You doctors, you see every day sick people and people dying and all that. But I find that doctors are, unfortunately, a lot of them are greedy, not good. And what is it? That is Maya. What can we do? But this person, Siddharth, he was destined, he saw only one time all these three sides. Person who is old, sick, and dying. That says, okay, this is not the part of life. Let me go in search of the eternal truth. That is why he gave up all that, his royal comforts, his wonderful family. He went in search of the truth, and finally he attained nirvana. Not only that, he attained and helped others attain nirvana. That is the beauty. So that is why he attained nirvana in Bodh Gaya, got enlightened, and he went Sarnath, where he gave his first sermon, Lord Buddha. So that is what to send. So to see that you should focus on what is the eternal or real and discard what is changing or temporary. That is the lesson. So Asti Bhati Priyam. Swami, so don't confuse. Sachidananda and Asti Bhati Priyam is the same. That's why both Swami are going to explain that more. And then Namarupa, we every day see you're all the various names and you're all the various forms, animals we see, plants, mountains, rivers. These are all have, each one has a name and a form, right? It is all the visual Prakriti, nature is that. So just take your attention from Prakriti to Nivritti. That means just the outgoing vision. Whole sadhana is inward vision. Instead of outside, turn inward. Then the whole world is within yourself. That is what Yoga Vasishta teaches. So that is what the thing we talked about. And Swami last time talked about Satchidananda Asti Bhati Priyam. And now he is going to discuss in more detail about that. We started last week, and now that same discussion continues. First he talked about Sat, now he's talking about Chit, and then he's going to talk about Ananda. Okay, you can continue on page 130.
Sairam, you are the Sat, the Atma, the entity that has no death. It is this Atma that is in every casement, and so every being feels the force of that Sat in the form of eternal, unchanging existence. This is clear and unmistakable. Now, take the second, Chit, the force that urges you to know everything. Every person is eager to know about anything that is apparent to his consciousness. He asks the questions, what is this? How does this happen? The number which actually succeeds in knowing may be only a few. Others may have the eagerness only and not the steady intelligence needed to persist and win. That makes no difference. The essential fact is the thirst, the urge. Take a little boy with you when you go to the market or the bazaar or an exhibition. You will note that the boy does not simply move along seeing the various things on both sides. He will be continuously asking the person who is leading him by the hand, what is this? And what this is and what that is. It may be something he does not need or something that is beyond his power of understanding, but yet the stream of questions will not get dry. Just consider the inner significance of this hunger for knowledge. It is the Chit Shakti that expresses itself. It is not its nature to leave things alone. It cannot rest until knowledge is gained. So the hunger emerges as a stream of questions. The Chit Shakti is self-luminous, so it has the power of illumining even inert things. That is why these qualities shine in man and make other things clearer to him. That is enough to make it plain that man has in him the principle of intelligence, or Chit Shakti. So I'll stop there. In many of Swami's discourses, he really emphasizes Sat Chit Ananda, the being, awareness, and bliss. And so what he's focusing on here is the Chit, or awareness. And of course, going down the internet rabbit hole, I wanted to get some of what Swami really says about this. Because in this, he explains it really well. It's the awareness, but with that awareness, there's a thirst to acquire that connection, that knowledge as to why things exist or why things are the way they are. And it eventually what I read is that with that awareness, we recognize that unity. The Sat itself really represents the Atma, or the eternal force, what's impermanent, or what's permanent. I'm sorry. So it doesn't change. And the thirst for knowing more about this, or the awareness of this, is the Chit that we experience. I had a discourse actually pulled up. It was from November. Sorry, I have to scroll through this. It was May 1974, where he really kind of goes into everything in the universe and how things connect. So I was actually trying to look up and see what he specifically said about awareness. But what he says here is, and I'm going to read from his discourse. Chit has been regarded as something which gives knowledge about the infinite. So it's basically that awareness that we are infinite, that we are truly that Sat, which exists within the Nama and the Rupa, that one of those components of the universe.
Yeah, the whole thing is Sat Chit. That is also called as knowledge, existence, and bliss. Sat is the existence, and Chit is the awareness and knowledge. So these are all interpreted like it says, Satchidananda Asti Bhati Priyam. Here, Sat means that you exist. What is be? So we are all things. That is why we sing. One saint was telling that Bernard Shaw, I don't know, which is a story he was relating to. He took his grandson, and in London he took the London Bridge and said, so when was this grandpa constructed? It was such and such time, few years ago prior to that. So where was I that time when that bridge was there? No, you were not there. No, I should have been there. That means human nature, because we are there before, not as this body, but as the other being, so that naturally we say there. And same thing, we will die, but we don't want to accept that because we are eternal. That is the real thing, we are eternal. That is why Yaksha Prashna, that Dharmaraja says, most interesting thing, what is amazing in the world? You see everybody in front of you dying, your parents, grandparents, your friends, brothers, sister, everybody. But you don't, you think you are permanent. There is Maya, but one way it is true. Because what dies is your body. Because really you don't die, you are permanent. That you forget. The whole secret is to realize what dies is this body, mind, intellect complex, not the real you, which is eternal. That is what various examples they give. That really you are eternal, you are permanent, you are Puratana and Sanatana. So the whole spiritual practices is to focus on that. For that, the awareness helps. From the childhood, we all want what is there. Particularly early, I remember my grandson, Kishore, first one. He was a very intelligent guy. My God, he used to drive us nuts. Anything. Why? Why not? What is this? What is this? Grandpa, what is this? What is this? And my Harini's husband, uncle, what? My God, when will he stop questioning? Because he is so anxious to know. Now, anyway, he's bright, he's in a law school. But everything you want to know, because that is the inquisitiveness human nature is, you want to know more and more and more. That is awareness of what is happening. Here I need to be aware of what is happening, who is sitting there, what is happening. We need that awareness to succeed in worldly life. But that awareness is of secular knowledge, whether you may be the physics, chemistry, medicine, you may be noble art. But that awareness will give you information. But the real happiness, which he will come to later on, is only inner awareness, who you are. You may know anything, you may be greatest scholar on the earth, you may know everything, you may be a Nobel laureate, everything, that won't give. Ramana Maharshi, who never went to school, or Nisargadatta Maharaj, who never did that, they will be blissful because they have that highest knowledge, inner awareness, which Lord Krishna says, Yam labdhva cha aparam labhamna. Having attained which, there is nothing more to attain. Because in worldly things, I heard one of my friends was working with the Nobel laureate in JPA. He already had one Caltech, and he wants another one thing. So anything in life, you have one Nobel Prize, not happy, you want two. And you want also in sports, music, whatever you attain, you want, hey, what more can I do? There's still always tathakim, what next? But in this state, having attained which, there is nothing more to attain. That is Purna. Purnamida Purna. So that is what these great saints, even though Ramakrishna Varamsa never went to college, Ramana Maharshi never went to, he had a PhD, or any of these people, but Atma, they revel in their own Atma, they are blissful. That is the awareness. This awareness is also important. Swami says it's like two wings of a bird. Secular knowledge or the worldly knowledge or academic knowledge is important, but more important, if you don't have the Atmic knowledge or the spiritual, you are incomplete. So that is the awareness Swami is emphasizing. We should have that and the existence. These are the two explanations. And also here, all of you intelligent people are, this is for not a lecture class, it is a discussion, dialogue. Anybody has want to make any comments, anything, their perspective or understanding, we are all welcome. Okay, so just you can continue then.
Now for the third, Anandam. Even beasts and birds crave for joy without any prompting or persuasion from others. They make every effort to win it. Not one of them craves for grief or pain. They make every effort to escape from pain and grief and put an end to them when they become unavoidable. As for man, no further elaboration is necessary. He seeks unbroken joy at all times and in all acts and activities. At no time, at no place, at no stage of life does he desire grief. He prays for the joy and happiness of himself and his kindred through whatever worship he offers, or whatever bhajan he shares in, or whatever vows he fulfills or rites he performs, or pilgrimages he undertakes, or gifts he makes for spiritual merit. Why? When the body suffers from any illness and the doctor prescribes a medicine to cure it and make him whole, man wants even that to be sweet, soothing, and pleasant. What is at the root of this desire? Man is fundamentally happy-natured, sukha swabhava. Bliss is his very personality. He is not the nature of the body he occupies. He is the Atma. Happiness is the nature of the Atma. That is why no one is surprised when you are happy. They are not inquisitive about your happiness, for it is something natural to you. Surprise arises only when you observe something that was not there before. What you see every day does not arouse your curiosity. It comes only when something unnatural happens or is observed. Take this instance. A child is in the cradle. It playfully laughs at either the jingling of bells or some toy, or perhaps some sensation which is pleasant enough to make it bloom. No one is surprised or worried at all at this. No one loses his peace of mind as a result of this. Now, let the child that was playing and laughing start shrieking and weeping. Everyone within earshot will run towards the cradle and frantically search the bed and bedcloths to discover the causes of all this commotion. This is the experience of all who have something to do with children. No one was worried to find out the reason why the child was happy, but all sought for the cause when it wept. Why? Because ananda, or joy, is its nature. Grief is unnatural against its inner composition. So I will stop there because I think this also eloquently and beautifully describes the true nature of all beings. I think when Bhagwan writes here that even, members of the animal kingdom prefer to be happy, whatever that is for them is what it is. But I think the examples he gives with kids, obviously, those of us that are around kids a lot sort of understand that. And for kids, when they're happy or they're quiet, it's true, nobody really pays that much attention to them, which is, from a behavior perspective, that's when you should pay attention to them. But it's when they're usually crying or they're, screaming or they're, a little bit more obstinate that they tend to get more attention. So what a lot of kids will learn is that if I cry, I get what I want. And I think an example would be, like sleeping with the parents and they're in the same bed. They'll wake up in the middle of the night and they'll be crying and calling out to their parents. And what we try to teach them is to just sort of go in and reassure them and then step away so that kids learn to put themselves to sleep and feel safe in their environment. But kids know that if they cry enough, if they scream enough, they will get to their parents' hearts and the parents will bring them in and they get exactly what they want. They want to stay with their parents. And the parents don't get any sleep as a result of that. Because the kids are kicking and all over them. So I think Swami describes this well, and then you can sort of take this example and put it to lots of different examples with kids. And he clearly says, he wrote here, if people that deal with kids understand all of this. And I think it's with everything. You pay attention when something is not going as well. But if something is going well, it's this whole idea of having gratitude, right? Having gratitude for what is going well as what is maybe not the way you want it to be, because it will take you to something that's going to go well. But it's focusing on the good things, and that's where I think that's where that anandam and bliss really comes from.
Huh?
Suffering from Krishna,
Yes.
because then they can remember Krishna.
Good, very good point. So first you should understand what is the bliss and pleasure. Pleasure is an interval between two pains. We all have pleasure. When we have good food, nice food, my God, food was so good, we are happy. But that after a few hours it's gone, it is again. Same thing, you go to a nice concert, is nice music, just for that temporary period you are happy. Or whatever, you are with the family, for friends for short time, you are happy during that. These are all pleasures, not real bliss. So pleasure is an interval between two pains. But really you are talking about that ananda, bliss. Lord Krishna says in Gita, the definition, Atyantika dukkha nivrutti niravadhika ananda prapti. That means unending bliss, because all these things we talked about, pleasures, the end is beginning, end, beginning, end. But this is unending bliss, eternal bliss. That is why they are so happy, these great sages, saints who realize the truth. And no more grief. Even in the intense so-called from outside there is a pain. They are never pain. They are always smiling, laughing, in the eternal bliss. That is why Sri Ramakrishna, when he had the throat cancer, so then one of his devotees or disciples, Nagamaharsha, he was a doctor turned disciple, he was embodiment of humility. So he had the power to take the cancer of the master into himself. So he was thinking about it. Then Lord Ramakrishna, he can read the thought, hey, rascal, don't do that. Because he imposed that on himself. He wanted an excuse to leave. All the avatars also, Shidi Baba, Swami, everybody, when they come, they decide when to. The only difference between us and them is they decide their entrance, they decide their exit. They will decide when they will be born. That is why Yeshwarama we call coming up, chosen mother. He chooses. And same thing, Jesus, he chose the mother, Mary. So they choose the entrance and they choose their exit too, how they will leave the world. So this is the lesson. They have the, why did I get into the things? Why was I talking about those? Right. This is bliss is something which is eternal. It doesn't change. But how do you get the bliss? That is what Taittiriya Upanishad says. We all have 5 layers. What are the 5 koshas? First is Annamaya kosha, the food sheath. That is body and the senses. Majority, 90% in the world, we have 8 billion people. Most of the people live in only Annamaya kosha, food sheath. Swami says, eating, sleeping, drinking, being merry, and they can leave the body. So sense pleasures and body things, that's all people are interested, most of the people. Next better is Annamaya Pranamaya kosha, there where you live in the vital air sheath, where you are more refined. Then go to Manomaya kosha. We all have. Then so you should go from one to, like you take off your jacket, under jacket, then you go to the inside shirt, right? Same thing. First you should get rid of your Annamaya. That is, don't live in the body. Swami says, bend the body, mend the senses. That means bend the body in service of others and mend the senses. Use the senses for good things. See good things, hear good things, do good things, go to good places. And then next Pranamaya kosha, just tune the breath in God. And third is Manomaya kosha, mind sheath. So you have to go with. The mind is Sankalpa Vikalpa, good thoughts, bad thoughts. First, you should go from negative thoughts to positive thoughts. Always analyze, auditing, self-audit. So you have the positive thinking. Then, once you have that, the stage should come and completely you get rid of those, even the thoughts, completely amanaska stage. That means no mind. You're directly in touch with Atma. Then comes the Vijnanamaya sheath, 4th sheath. That is the stage of the intellect sheath, which discrimination between the fundamental discrimination and individual discrimination. Once you pass that, then you come in touch with bliss. So it is not just overnight you can get bliss. That's not that easy. So you should. That is why, as Anil was telling, Mother Kunti said, hey, give me troubles, because that is where you go from one sheath to accelerate the progress. You don't live in that, even though she was going through troubles, because that is the time we think about God more. When you are in distress, you cry. Like the example you were telling, if the baby cries, then what happens? Mother or father rush to the baby, right? Because they will be playing with the baby, is playing with the toys, he's happy, their mother won't bother. But crying runs. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna is beautiful. He says, as long as we are happy with these toys, the house, bank balances, jobs, children, family, yeah, they're happy, they let him. But you really have that intense longing for God. Cry for God. I want you, mother, nothing else. That is what Sri Ramakrishna, he cried for God. He rubbed his mother, another day is gone, my life is wasted. He used to rub his face, Ma, where are you? He used to bleed actually. That shows how we should have that intense longing for God. How cry for God. If you cry for God, he says, Divine Mother, this God is both mother and father, comes running to you. So we should, but he says in life, people, he said beautiful, that also is quote, jug full of tears they shed for wife, children, family, and money, job. So they cry for that. But who cries for God? He says, if you cry for God for 3 days, God will appear in between you. But you don't need to cry for God for 3 days. What did Swami say? 11 seconds. So that intensely with steady mind, you pray to God, still heart, you do that, He will appear before you. That kind of intensity we should have, longing for God. Then you will get Ananda. This Ananda is not an ordinary Ananda. I told before, in Taittiriya Upanishad, this is called Brahmananda. What is Brahmananda? It is quintillion times more than Manushyananda. Quintillion means, does anybody know quintillion? The scientists are there, 10 to the power of 18. So it is more than million, billion, more than billion is trillion, more than trillion is quadrillion, more than quadrillion is quintillion. So that much happiness than Manushyananda. A unit of Ananda, Manushyananda is a person who is a young man. Nobody wants to be a person who is a young man, is handsome, and he's highly educated, and he has got all the wealth in the world, and he has all the power in the world, and he's a noble character. That is one unit of Manushyananda. Is there anything else lacking? He has got physical beauty, he has got intellectual strength, he has spiritual and noble character, he has power, wealth. That is one unit. You can imagine this is so many times 10 to the 8, they beautifully describe. This is Manushyananda, then Manusha Gandharvananda, then Devagandharvananda, then Ajana Jananda, Karmananda, then Bruhaspati Ananda, Prajapati Ananda, finally this Hiranyagarbhananda, Brahmananda. That is, so the scripture showing how much high in regular life you want to get a degree, how much sacrifice, how many years to become a doctor, 20, 30 years you work, you hard not night and day, whether you are successful, you work so hard to just get a degree. And here, the highest degree you are getting, what is that? Unvanti Vishwe Amrutasya Putraha. You are children of immortality. Nobody wants to be immortal, right? All the demons, whenever they prayed, you highest tapas they did is, I want to be immortal. Everybody want to be. So you will become children of immortality when you have this. So for that, how much sadhana, how much intense practices we should do. So then you will get really the ananda, that bliss, brahmananda. So we relate some regular anandas to brahmananda, but that is what the highest ananda you need to transcend. That is why these people, they don't care for the ordinary troubles, like Mother Kunti, how much trouble she went through. There is a famous prayer she made for Lord Krishna, because anything which makes us think of God takes us, that is the right path. Anything which takes us away from God, that is not good for us. Basic definition. So when you go to a party, is it really taking me away from God? You go to a place, it's taking me away from God, then that's not good for us. Or at least sometimes you have no choice, but minimize those kind of things. So anything which makes you think more about God, takes you towards God, that is what we should, a spiritual seeker, more and more practice. So that each one of us to judge, is this taking me more towards God or taking me away from God? So whatever your body life or friends, family, that is the reason holy company is emphasized so much, because there are friends who are lovers of God. They talk about God, and you also, your fire of for divinity that also gets ignited, and you just love God more. So that is important. Anybody else?
I was just going to say, I remember long time ago when Dr. Goldstein was giving a talk, he was talking about how he spent the day with Bhagwan and was in the car with him and everything. And it was a hot day in Prashanti Nilayam. And because he was sort of feeling that blissfulness, being in the divine presence of Bhagwan, he actually forgot to eat and almost passed out in the presence. So I think Bhagwan said, "Listen, you got to eat. don't skip meals. Don't do these things." But he just said, "I'm sorry. I was so happy. I was so blissful being in your presence." So
that's true. When you are in the presence of God, it happens a lot of, you forget your pains, you forget your food, you forget your sleep, hunger, sleep. That is what the whole Shivaratri, the concept is. People watch vigil and it is not intentional. You have so much joy singing the glories of Lord Shiva, chanting his mantras. You forget about the food and sleep. You do not force yourself. Naturally, you forget. That is what the great Shiva Bhaktas, they do. There's so much in bliss singing, then you naturally don't think about food. And whereas you are struggling, like Swami said, don't do that. And you are talking also, another thing I remember, everything is such a bliss. We think it is only we, even animals, like a dog, you say that when it is happy, it wags the tail and it is the good food. And when it's, the master is not there, it will feel sad. So everybody is in search of happiness, including animals. We think we don't take, there are different levels, including lizards. Do you know that the story in Shri Satcharita? There was a lizard on the wall. It's making noise. So he says, it's making noise. The one devotee was asking, Swami, it is making noise. Yeah, it is so happy. Our sister is coming. They thought he is pulling our legs. Lizard is happy because her sister is coming. They kept quiet because Baba said that who can argue with him. Then after a while, there is a guy who brought a horse carriage and they stopped in Shirdi. And then they carry this horse gram in a thing and they carry in a big bag. So after finishing, he just did that. He wanted to feed the horse and also give the water. Then out of that bag, a lizard came out. It went there in the mask onto the wall, and it there, and both of them, it went round that lizard. They were like dancing, and both were making to show that how Baba only can tell the sister of the lizard is coming, and both were together and dancing. So it was like the human beings. Your sister comes, you are happy, relate. So this was happy. So even God can see that their language, He understands. So everybody is such of that ananda. Okay, we'll continue next.